Female human rights activists from Xinjiang, Tibet, and Hong Kong jointly highlighted China's forceful repression of women, calling it the worst human rights violations in the country. They mentioned about China's 2023 review by the UN Women's Rights Committee during a side event at the 54th UN Human Rights Council. It was titled Findings of the UN Women's Rights Committee on China, Perspectives of Affected Communities.
What sort of issues the women in Xinjiang province is facing?
According to reports and also our own reporting, which was also highlighted during the CEDAW review, was that the Uyghur women in the Uyghur region are facing multiple challenges, such as extrajudicial detention in concentration camps. So we estimate around 3 million of Uyghur and Turkic people, and of course among these numbers there are also women who are in detention. Beyond this, there is also coerced marriages of Uyghur women between Uyghur women and Han men who are also receiving incentives and subsidies from the government to encourage these inter-ethnic marriages. Uyghur women are also separated from their children, who are taken to state-run boarding schools where they're eroded from their linguistic rights, cultural, religious rights as well. And then Uyghur women are also subjected to forced labor, where they work in small factories to produce garment or other products and produce. Uyghur women are also discriminated in daily life, and most importantly, they're forcibly sterilized. I think this is really grave concern that we have, is the forced sterilization that started in the recent years with this ongoing campaign that the Chinese government has been carrying, and also the violence, physical and mental violence that they are facing inside these camps, according to witness testimonies.
I think right now the Chinese government has shown an unwillingness to listen to the international community's calls, to listen to the voices of Tibetans from inside Tibet and around the world. And that actually highlights the reason why it's more crucial now than ever for international communities and governments to come out and say, this is wrong. The separation of over 1 million Tibetan children from their mothers and families, this is not right. There's no way in which any society or any media spokesperson from the Chinese government can ever spin it in a way that this could be something that would benefit the Tibetan people. So I think in terms of governments, there is a need for accountability, but it doesn't end there. It also goes to the people. The people of each country can also see and judge for themselves what they believe about this policy, and do they believe this policy to be of harm to children, to women, and to the society within Tibet. And if so, then I think that not only governments and the UN, but everybody in the world needs to take action and join into the cause of shutting down the colonial boarding schools inside Tibet.
What sort of problems or the issues that women in Tibet are facing right now?
There are actually many issues that women inside Tibet are facing. There were several that were raised by the recent review and in the concluding statements from CEDAW, which is the committee, the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. And so this committee that is focused on on upholding the rights of this convention had a treaty body review, and some of the really valuable ones that they raised were in regards to the separation of girls and women, like small girls and children, from their families and parents, as well as the confiscation of passports or the denial of passports on the basis of one's identity as a so-called ethnic minority. So if you imagine this in any society, maybe the community you live in, if there's someone who's classed by the government as an ethnic minority, and because of this very reason, they're denied the right to internal freedom of movement, and also the right to they don't have the right to a passport. And in terms of many of us from different societies, we see the undue grievances this will cause in the life of a woman. And women in society are extremely vulnerable to many different types of abuses, many different types of challenges, and not having the basic right to apply for a passport and know that you can get one from the country that claims to represent you internationally, that is a huge challenge. And the third one that was raised, that we talked about today, was the the labor transfer programs and the vocational training programs. So many of these are forcible programs or coerced programs, which means that women who have for generations and generations, over 10,000 years, their families have lived as nomadic or semi-nomadic peoples. So the practices of their culture and their identity have sustained the Tibetan plateau and the glaciers there, which actually provide water security for one-fifth of the world's population. So these are people that are living in India and Bangladesh and all around different regions. They're relying on the water that has been protected upstream for thousands of years by Tibetan women and Tibetan nomads. And now these nomads are being stripped from their homes. These Tibetan women are being forced to leave their way of life, which protects billions of people around the world, and enter into these coerced vocational training programs that teach them low-skill, low-wage positions so that they enter into this almost sort of economic servitude towards the Chinese government to complete their mass production of goods. It's all a big system that many of us around the world are part of in some ways, and we have a power also to say we don't want to be a part of these systems in these ways.
News Desk, Kaumudy Global.